Just an absolute, like, brain-bending experience. Hey guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whichever applies to you. Welcome back. If you are new here, my name is Julia. I'm a contemporary singing specialist based in Australia, and today I am checking out an artist that is completely brand new to me, and apparently I am super late to the party. I mean, I have been away, so I didn't really know there was a party, but I'm here now. So we're going to be checking out UNRAVEL by Japanese artist Ado. Let's do it.
教えてほしいとその仕組みが僕の中に誰か夢の壊れた横の世界で君が何も見ずに
We're starting off super soft. There's like a little bit of delay to some of the phonation onset that's happening, but also there's breathiness, and it almost makes it sound on the edge of unstable, which is a very vulnerable emotional thing to have in your sound and to kind of give your voice permission to sit in that zone where it's not like completely clean, it's not completely like perfect, if that makes sense. And the feeling that I get from that is like I'm on the edge, and it literally only just started, so I'm gonna keep listening. If this vocal setup doesn't show up again, I may revisit this again at the end. Anyway, let's keep listening. Okay, so the intro really was just a little peek. I probably should have just kept listening because we are really leaning into facets of vocal production which walk the line of being clean and unstable. We have switch ups between the registers as well. Let me see if I can find you an example. So we're in second register there. We're not in first anymore, but yeah, okay. So we hear that crack as she descends, right? And then on the ha, we have this almost, in my head, it like almost like shines out like a big rainbow. It's a brightness that's there, and then it pulls back. Like it's almost like I'm in a little acoustic playground right now. You can also very deliberately hit these kinds of like onsets or introduce instability between register changes in order to create the same, I guess you could call them aural artifacts, which I appreciate that as a listener. As a vocal coach, it's like, whoa, we have an element of chaos in here. But yeah, anyway, let's keep going. just like, whoa. Oh, holy crap. I don't even know what she's saying. And oh, I want to go back and break it down, but I also want to keep listening, especially if this is gonna be my like response. What the hell? Yeah, maybe we'll circle back to that. Yeah, we're gonna keep listening. Okay, so my biggest impression so far is that what an absolutely fearless vocalist. Technique-wise, this is absolute chaos. I don't think I've ever described a technique that way, but it is so clear that these vocal choices of hers are deliberate. And we have these moments of beautiful, pure phonation, and then you have sections like this that has just happened, where even the breath work, the audible breathing that you hear in the sound contributes to the experience as a listener. It's like making my breath get caught listening to it. And because she's shifting between things that sound really soft and vulnerable to things that literally sound like she's screaming and experiencing the worst pain of her life, that switch between those two, it's just an absolute like brain-bending experience, which is absolutely nuts to me, to be hearing that much of an adjustment, and then she returns to clean phonation, and to hear screams and her to return to clean phonation. But I think for me the big thing is how emotionally almost tactile the singing is. I know that might not make sense, but it almost feels like something that you touch and you feel a certain way about it. My brain goes a step further and often attributes like different shapes or colors or other things to the sounds that I'm hearing. This is like running water and wind and like jagged rocks and like all of these things together. Oh, I'm gonna keep going. I'm so sorry. This went from I'm gonna break down and analyze a sound to, oh my god, there are so many components of this sound. And if you're familiar with my channel, you know that the moment something emotionally just like yanks me, my analysis brain goes on holiday just for a moment, because I'm stuck between wanting to feel what the music is wanting me to feel. And often if those feelings are very strong, then there's no CPU left for being like, well, the vocal folds are doing this. Like, I'd probably need a second run at it, if I'm honest. So we're gonna keep listening, but I'm going to need a little bit more exposure to this artist before I could do like a little nitty-gritty breakdown deep dive. I'm gonna have to go have like a big cry after that. Oh my god. Whew. Yeah. Oh my goodness. R.I.P. my emotions right now. And I just got hit with the duality of like beauty and crisis in the same artist. Oh my goodness. So yeah, like I mentioned earlier, I am attributing this to technique. There is a lot of intention behind the decisions here, and especially the interplay of something that is meant to sound beautiful with literal screams and an experience that is unraveling and escalating as she is singing. I mean, I feel unraveled. I feel like someone's gonna have to come along and roll me back up. But yeah, voice-wise, there's a lot going on, and as someone who breaks down how these sounds are created, I can tell you there's a lot of adjusting that's going on, and we're listening to a very resilient singer. Hey guys, voiceover Julia here. I just wanted to interrupt video Julia quickly because I started talking about vocal resilience and screaming, and I kind of felt like I didn't make it very clear what type of screaming or what kinds of voice use I was specifically referring to. I started to talk about the balance between vocal quality choices and vocal health and sustainability and all of that good stuff. So I just wanted to break it down just a little bit more in voiceover format. So Video Julia just mentioned that this is a resilient voice. And when we're talking about resilient voices, there's three things that you typically consider. The first is what type of sound is the singer actually making? In Ado's case, there's a variety of different techniques that she's using in both first and second register. She's got clean phonation, she's got clean phonation with aspiration or breathiness in it, and then she's also got more intense types of vocalizations like belting and distortion that she's utilizing as part of her vocal toolbox, if you will. The second thing is, how long are you using the sound for? In this case, we're hearing it in a full-length song, which looks like it's part of a concert. Ado seems to be a professional artist, so even though I don't know much about her, I'm going to assume that there are touring conditions and performance conditions which would require her to use these techniques quite regularly and for an extended period of time. And the third thing is, how is this affecting the voice? Are there signs of fatigue? Does it seem like they're having difficulty controlling their dynamics or switching between the techniques? Is there apparent decline in vocal function during the song or concert? Anyway, those are just a few things that I would be listening for when considering the resilience of a particular sound. In Ado's case, she seems to switch quite freely between these techniques. I don't hear any apparent decline, and for some people this might seem surprising because she is using screams. And that brings me to one of the things that I wanted to clarify. The kinds of screaming that Ado is using is not the kind of screaming that you would probably use at, like, let's say someone who's made you a little frustrated, or the kind of screaming if you're yelling across traffic. This kind of screaming, or the loud screaming that we might associate with more speech use, tends to come from slamming the vocal folds together, and when that happens too frequently, we have this thing called shearing forces, which can cause swelling, and you might experience, after you've been screaming, in that format at least, you might experience some fatigue, or you might even lose your voice. The saying of screaming yourself hoarse is absolutely something that can happen. In the case of a professional performer, or not even a professional performer, just a singer in general, the kinds of screaming that they would be doing or hopefully aiming for are ones that are grounded in techniques which utilize distortion from either fry screams or the false folds or other vibratory sources within the vocal tract. So things like your epiglottis or your arytenoid cartilages, things like that. Now, while it does sound like at times there's some aperiodic distortion, which is distortion that's coming from kind of chaotic vibration of the vocal folds, there are definitely moments there where we can hear a pitch in her screams as well, which indicates to me that those other vibratory sources like the false folds or like the arytenoids, other things are also getting in on the mix to create this intense scream. And these are absolutely techniques that professional performers have used over, decades long careers. So they're definitely something that can become sustainable for somebody that is wanting to learn. And here's sort of where we can pair that back to the conversation about resilience, or the concept of resilience, is every sound that you make will have a particular bandwidth where it feels efficient for you, it feels sustainable. And if you go outside of that window, you might start to experience that decline or any of like the fatigue symptoms that I described earlier. If we just for a moment let ourselves be a little bit silly and think of every vocal sound that you could possibly make as being like a spell in a video game, and it takes MP, you have MP and you have HP. Think of different sounds as having a different MP cost. And in the beginning, when you're not used to creating those sounds, maybe that cost is a lot bigger. And so therefore the amount of MP that you have available in order to create that spell or make that sound might not be that much. It takes a little bit of time to build up some stamina and bring that MP cost for that particular sound down. Now, we're not in a video game, so if you're a vocalist who decides to try and continue using a high MP cost technique, it can start to wear into your HP or your vocal health. You'll start to be negatively affected by overusing or misusing particular techniques that don't have a very big bandwidth, or just going outside of that bandwidth. An example of this could be if you were just starting off belting. You might only be able to belt in an exercise. You might not be able to use it consistently in a song that is absolutely full of belting, versus years down the track when you've been a proficient belter who's continued to refine your technique, you've reduced the tension surrounding it, or perhaps you just got more practiced at engaging it without overthinking. In those conditions, perhaps you're able to belt through several songs and it not fatigue you at all. What can be really trippy and almost a little bit unfair is you could be a super proficient singer with a lot of efficiency for a particular sound, and then you try a brand new technique and you can't use it for very long. It just costs way too much. So you wind up fatigued after you use it. An example could be if you're a clean singer and you do start screaming or employing these screaming techniques, you might not be able to use them for very long. In Ado's case, it seems like she's got a lot of techniques that she's really adept at utilizing and switching between. It's almost like looking at somebody else who's been playing the same game as you, but they're way, way, way ahead in levels, and they have all of these skills that they can just keep spamming, and it's just, they seem to be able to go on and on and on. I'm sure we all know singers like that who seem to be able to use these intense techniques, and they use them for a prolonged period of time, and it just doesn't seem to do anything to them. It's such an emotional ride though, and for me, hearing the vocal elements taken to that extreme, how unafraid to have these aspects of vocal production, which in so many other areas of like voice education, you're usually trying to balance your sound and like reduce the chances of voice crack, or trying to have, gentler onsets so that you so that you're creating like a sustainable technique. I think it's very cool how she really leans into the almost the break that occurs if you were to change registers really quickly. A technique that is similar is called a yodel, where you're switching between registers very quickly and you're kind of leaning into this instability that occurs between the registration changes. Something that's really cool about that is sometimes with an unstable registration shift, different acoustic studies show that subharmonics are usually present in that sound, which contributes to that crack that we hear. And to hear an artist who's like, I am going to breathe how it feels right to breathe for this emotion and this lyric. I mean, if we don't know the lyrics, but I'm going to breathe how it feels right to do so. And that sound like a conscious decision on the end of the artist. Like, it's very humbling and, in fact, almost confronting to hear so many of the elements that we spend so much time, I guess you could say, trying to get rid of when they're a natural part of vocal expression, And very often these will be the bits that show up in perhaps people who are less trained, and on that journey they like judge themselves for those aspects being present, like feeling embarrassed because their voice is cracking, or feeling upset because they don't have like a perfect balance between their registration and then you have here it being performed professionally, and it's a key part of the experience as a listener for those elements to be there, and it feels so raw. Like it's yeah, it's a little confronting and humbling, and I think I'm gonna need a round two, guys. I need to cry in a nap. So I think that is where I will leave that one today. I hope that you enjoyed this one. If you did, please be sure to give it a like, click the subscribe button and the bell notification for more just like it. Potentially even this one broken down into smaller bits. I don't know. You could suggest other songs. Please leave them in the comments section because I definitely want to hear more. But other than that, I hope you are staying safe. I hope you are staying healthy, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! When you have artists that are unafraid to let whatever happens with their voice happen, you get some really unique things that occur for you as a listener, and then for someone like me who analyzes voices, we're just like, what's going on here? It's very fun. It feels very authentic. And while yes, my job when I'm working with a singer is often to get clean phonation, and that is often opposed to like this kind of approach, I do appreciate how it can conjure like stronger emotional feelings when something is a little bit more raw sounding. Oh my god. Why did I not do that one last? Oh.